Welcome to Vloggo Uncovered, where we chase the stories the world tried to forget. Tonight we venture deep into the silent snow, to a night where 9 lives vanished and left behind a riddle that refuses to die. This is the dark truth behind the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Some stories slip away into whispers. Some are buried in ice and secrecy. But every so often, the past claws its way back. January 1959. In the Soviet Urals, a group of 10 ambitious students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute set out on a daring winter trek. Their plan was to cross the untouched wilderness, summit rugged peaks, and return with the pride of explorers. They were no amateurs. Each member was a seasoned expert in winter hiking, skiing, and endurance. The leader, 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, had drawn them together with enthusiasm, precision, and a burning curiosity for the wild unknown. Their gear was packed. Their spirits were high. They began their journey from the settlement of Vijay, moving deeper into the frozen north. But early on, one member, Yuri Yudin, fell ill and had to turn back. He would become the lone person who never reached the pass. The rest pressed onward, heading toward a peak called Otorten. They established camps, cached supplies, and documented their progress with cameras, journals, and radio checks. Days passed. They reported good weather. Spirits remained strong. Then, the trail went dark. On the night of February 1st to 2nd, near a remote slope called Kolat Shyakal, which translates to Mountain of the Dead in the language of the local Mansi people, everything changed. When the search teams finally found their campsite weeks later, the scene was baffling. Their tent lay half-flattened by snow. It had been slashed open from the inside. All of their belongings, boots, warm clothing, furs, food, were still inside. No one had packed to leave, but they did leave. Barefoot, wearing only socks or undergarments, they fled into the night. 9 sets of footprints, some in socks, some completely bare, traced a path away from the tent and into the darkness. They stretched toward the edge of a forest line, then vanished. No footprints ever returned. At the forest edge, rescue teams found the first 2 bodies, just meters from the tree line. No shoes, no coats. Their hands were burned, as if they'd been trying to light a fire in desperation. Branches high above them were broken, suggesting someone had climbed a tree, perhaps searching for a light or a way back. Between the tree line and the campsite, 3 more bodies were found. Their poses suggested they were crawling back toward the tent when they succumbed. Some had minor wounds. Others were just stiff, silent figures frozen in the snow. But the final 4? They were hidden under 4 meters of snow, discovered months later when the spring thaw revealed them. They lay in a ravine, bodies piled together, some dressed better than others, having clearly taken clothes from their fallen friends. One woman, Lyudmila Dubinina, was discovered missing her tongue and eyes. Another had fatal chest trauma. The level of force needed to cause those injuries would rival a car crash, yet there were no external blunt force wounds. To make things even stranger, some of their clothing showed traces of radiation. Their skin had turned a peculiar orange-brown color. Parts of their bodies had no external damage despite devastating internal fractures. Everything about that night was wrong. Soviet authorities arrived, stunned. The initial medical commission concluded that the cause of death was hypothermia. But that finding fell apart when the other bodies were discovered. 3 of the 4 found in May had fatal internal injuries, crushed lungs, shattered ribs, as if they'd been compressed by an immense force. But why? There was no weapon, no sign of a struggle. The official report was frustratingly vague, citing a compelling natural force. The prosecutor's files were classified. Photos were sealed. Witnesses were silenced. Over time, key pages vanished from the official records, and the area was closed to hikers for years. In 2019, the Russian government reopened the case. They declared the cause of death an avalanche, a technically plausible answer. But many experts saw huge gaps in this theory. The slope was too mild for a major avalanche. A slide that powerful would have left visible damage to the terrain, yet there were no skid marks, no massive displaced snow. So let's explore 5 theories that refuse to die. First, military testing. Some claim the site was near a Cold War experiment. People reported seeing strange lights and smoke bombs in the area. Could a shockwave from a secret weapon have panicked the hikers? Could that explain the radiation on their clothes? Second, infrasound. In his book, Dead Mountain, author Donnie Icar proposed that unique swirling wind patterns on that slope might have generated inaudible but powerful pressure waves. These waves, he argued, could disorient, suffocate, and induce intense, irrational panic, causing the hikers to flee their tent in terror. Third, paradoxical undressing. It's a known phenomenon where, in the final stages of extreme hypothermia, victims feel a sensation of intense heat and begin to remove their clothing. This could explain why people abandoned their warm coats, but it doesn't explain the severe internal trauma. Fourth, the delayed slab avalanche. This is the leading modern theory. It suggests that small slabs of snow, disturbed by the hikers setting up their tent, slowly broke free hours later. The tent was partially buried, and the campers, thinking a full collapse was imminent, cut their way out. They fled in chaos, disoriented and freezing. Some succumbed to the cold, while others were later crushed by more snow in the ravine. This might explain the internal injuries, but the radiation, the missing body parts, the strange behavior, still remain unexplained. And fifth, the paranormal. Local Mansi people speak of strange lights in the sky, orange orbs floating above the mountain. Hunters have claimed to glimpse shadowy figures in the snow. Some say the mountain itself is cursed, that Kolatsyakyl's silence hides its dark judgments. Yuri Yudin, the hiker who turned back early, lived the rest of his life carrying what he called survivor's guilt. He never visited the pass again. He once said he would have rather died with his friends than live his whole life wondering what happened to them. Some of the recovered journals and film negatives show images of smiling faces, frosty trees, and one final overexposed frame, the dark shape of a man standing against the twilight. Searchers recounted pulling boots from the snow that didn't belong to any of the hikers. Their radios crackled with static. Some said they felt watched on the slopes, that their headlamps flickered, and their compasses spun wildly. In the Soviet archives, some documents show officials rewriting their findings, blacking out certain lines, and dismissing anomalies as irrelevant. The families of the hikers demanded answers. Some were rebuffed, others were threatened into silence. Imagine this. You're in a dark tent, the wind is howling, and the pressure of the snow is building above you. Your instincts scream danger. You cut the tent open just to breathe. You emerge into blinding, unbearable cold, carrying nothing. You wander into a storm, confused, desperate, maybe even hallucinating. Every shadow becomes a threat. Every snowdrift hides death. Fear shatters your reason. In those final hours, the mountain doesn't care. The wind doesn't warn. The silence is absolute. In 2020, Russian prosecutors officially declared the cause of death an avalanche, using new simulations and snow models. But the public remains unconvinced. The hike route is known, but the last steps remain frozen in time. The whispers linger in the wind that sweeps across the granite and snow. Some mysteries, perhaps, beg to stay unsolved, because the truth might be too sharp to hold. When 9 lives vanish into the snow, leaving only silence, the answers just might breathe within the darkness. Thank you for joining me on this cold trail. This has been Vloggo Uncovered, reminding us that some truths only vanish when we stop searching. If you found this story as haunting as I do, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an investigation. Stay curious and stay safe.